great conversation and made some progress on those puzzles. It really was a fantastic meal, and I want you all to join me in thanking the chef, the kitchen, and the wait staff. Next, we would like to introduce you to Arlis Sidlowski, a final year mechanical engineering student who will be sharing her greetings to the 48th Distinguished Lecturer, Shauna Curry. Arlis is a 2020 Schulich Leader. She is currently the president of the USask Space Design Team, as well as the VP of Finance on the Mechanical Engineering Students Association. She's also a board member for the Undergraduate Student Fund, a student ambassador for the USask Women and Allies in Engineering, and she's a student advisor for the Engineering Advancement Trust.
Arlis was also a project manager on the RadSat SK1 and 2 CubeSat projects in partnership with the Canadian Space Agency, Sask Polytechnic, and the U of R. And this fall, she was one of 2 Canadians selected to participate in the concurrent engineering workshop at the European Space Agency. She's a competitor on the USask Mining Games team, and she actually won WEC with Ryan and will be going to Halifax for the Canadian engineering competition. So, as you can tell, Arlis has a lot of time on her hands. She is another person who inspires me to want to be a better person. So please help me in welcoming our friend and fellow student, Arlis Sidlowski.
Okay, thank you guys. We have now arrived at the part of the evening that we've all been looking forward to, the keynote address from Shauna Curry, our 48th Distinguished Lecturer. As Ryan and Millie mentioned, my name is Arlis Sidlowski, and I am honored to have been selected by the faculty of the Ron and Jane Graham School of Professional Development to introduce Shauna this evening. Shauna Curry exemplifies what it means to be an engineer the world needs. As the president and chief executive officer of the Center for Affordable Water and Sanitation Technology, she leads with vision and innovation. Her journey as a leader and trailblazer in engineering has been shaped by years of passion, dedication, and curiosity. Although she was born in Winnipeg, I'll try not to hold that against her, she was raised on the USask campus. Her parents were students at the University of Saskatchewan when she was a baby and toddler. In an interview for the 2023 USask Alumni Achievement Awards, where Shauna was recognized for the Outstanding Impact Award, she said it was because of that experience as a young child that there was never any doubt that she would attend a university or which one. It was the problem-solving nature of engineering that drew Shauna to engineering. It is within the walls of our building that her leadership skills grew and she became active in student government. During her undergraduate engineering degree, she was the vice president, then president of the Saskatoon Engineering Student Society, and she served 2 years as the vice president of the Canadian Federation of Engineering Students. After graduating from agricultural engineering in 1994, Shauna returned to the USask campus to take some business classes and topped off her student governance resume by serving as the president of the University of Saskatchewan Students' Union. After convocation, she moved to Alberta, working as an engineer in Calgary for 5 years. During that time, she gained valuable experience, but found herself at the crossroads of what many young alumni face. What next? With a passion for wanting to learn Spanish and explore Latin America, she jumped in with 2 feet. Actually, in this case, I should say 2 wheels. From 1999 to 2001, Shauna traveled 14,000 kilometers through 14 countries by bicycle. It was during her time in South America that her experiences drove home the reality that safe water is a fundamental to a healthy community. After she returned to Canada, she discovered COST, the nonprofit founded in 2001 by Camille Dow Baker and David Mans, also a USask engineer and fellow distinguished lecturer from 2010. Man's invented the household biostand filter, an adaptation of the traditional slow sand filter that uses layers of sand and gravel to remove pathogens and suspended solids from contaminated drinking water. COST was founded for humanitarian distribution of the filter. Curry joined COST in 2004 as an international technical advisor, then became Director of International Services before being asked to put her name forward to become CEO when Camille Dow-Baker, also an engineer, retired in 2011. Under her leadership, COST has grown into a global leader, expanding its reach and empowering local populations with the knowledge and tools to maintain safe water and sanitation practices. As a Canadian charity and licensed not-for-profit consultancy, COST provides expert training and consulting, housing the world's largest database of water, sanitation, and hygiene resources. In 2023, over 90,000 people from more than 200 countries and regions accessed COST's materials, and COST and its partners reached over 14 million people with improved water, sanitation, or hygiene. Since COST's inception in 2001, it has positively impacted more than 50 million people, and under Shauna's leadership, the organization is working toward reaching another 50 million by 2030. Shauna is a passionate advocate for equitable resource distribution and believes education is key to a lasting, sustainable change. Her dedication to COST's mission reflects her lifelong commitment to improving lives through community empowerment. It is easy to see the worldwide impact Shauna has had. She is an inspiring leader, a global citizen, advocate, educator, and most of all, an engineer our world needs. Please join me in welcoming the 48th Distinguished Lecturer and Alumni of USask Engineering, Shauna Curry, to the stage.
Thank you, Arliss. I'll give a lot more color to that. But one of the things that I particularly love is that yesterday you grilled my colleague Mark on the numbers, on the number of countries that we've reached. And you're right, it's countries and territories and regions. I did exactly the same thing. Good evening, elders, distinguished guests, students, and fellow professionals. I'm Shauna Curry, and I'm honored and humbled to be the 48th C.J. Mackenzie Distinguished Lecturer. My hope for this evening is that through my presentation, you'll see the power of engineering, ingenuity, and innovation combined with the collective human spirit can create a multiplier effect so big that it can change the world. And it's extremely exciting to be part of. We'll explore this by looking at 3 key questions. 1, we live in a world that is breathtakingly beautiful, full of wonder, and endlessly fascinating. Yet, it is also increasingly unstable, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous. How will we respond to the challenges that are in front of us right here, right now, while at the same time setting ourselves up for the future? 2, in the face of this complexity and the nature of the problems, the need for engineering problem-solving skills and creativity perhaps has never been greater. Problem-solving skills are at the heart of finding solutions to some of the world's stickiest problems. In all the many pathways that an engineer can take, what best equips us to make the greatest contribution in our world? And 3, we are never alone. In this room, in our communities, and across the globe, people are compassionate, courageous, and committed. What skills and capabilities do we need to build for connection, to foster relationships, and tap into the skills and talents of each other? I'm going to tell you a story, a little bit you got a glimpse of already. I'm going to tell you a story about how life started for me, and with the help of the University University of Saskatchewan, and countless people along the way, I've answered these questions for myself. My story is just but one to draw upon. And I have to say, I am so inspired by the passion and interests of all of the students that I've had a chance to meet so far, and your stories that have brought you to here so far. I've always loved being in and around water. Some of my earliest memories were swimming in the rivers and lakes and pools. Most of all, the one here at the University of Saskatchewan. You see, as you've heard, the U of S was my alma mater. It was also my parents' alma mater. When I was 2, 3, and 4 years old, much of my childhood was spent on campus, swimming, racing through the halls, and marveling at the skeletons in the geology department. My father studied human ecology and was working for the Saskatchewan Council for International Cooperation, and my mother was a medical student. I would bounce on a green couch surrounded by books, research papers, art, and people. Life unfolded for me to the sound of different accents, languages, and music, and the smells and tastes of food from every continent. This vibrant place was my home. A strong first memory stands out at age 4. We were canoeing in northern Saskatchewan, and we would dip our cups into the river and drink it straight from the river. A few years later, we were in Mexico for one of my father's conferences, and to my surprise, the tap water was unsafe to drink. It was also my first experience witnessing extreme poverty. An 8-year-old mind struggled to grasp the reality of what it was like for 25 million people in the city of Mexico, in the Mexico City, living without safe drinking water. My mother, now a physician, told me that unsafe water would make me and entire populations of children sick. And if we were sick, we couldn't play, swim, learn, go to school, something that I incidentally loved. Thanks to my parents giving me windows into the wider world, I was exposed to the pain of inequity, injustice, and war, and also to the amazing fortitude, capability, and potential of people to make a difference in their lives for those around us and across the globe. These early experiences were gifts to me from the University of Saskatchewan and my parents. You instilled curiosity and provided me a gateway to the world and the desire to make a difference. Years later, from that green couch, I bounced back into the College of Engineering, drawn by an ethos of if there's a problem, we can solve it. The excitement and allure of emerging technologies and innovation was everywhere, alongside the study of century-old principles, theorems, and equations, including our beloved Bernoulli's pub, named from 300 years ago. Around that time, my father shared an article with me about ancient water systems, including a 2,000-year-old network still in use, which we later visited as a family. What became clear was our greater responsibility as engineers to select the right technology approach for a given context. New doesn't always mean better. At times, doubt crept in. There were tough stretches where assignments felt overwhelming, and we questioned whether we had the brains or the grit to get through. Compared to our peers in other colleges, our days and nights seemed so much longer. I think there's probably a few students who can recognize that. Looking back, professors, colleagues, friends, and alumni who stayed engaged with the college were all part of making this a special place to learn and grow. My time in the College of Engineering anchored my thinking and reinforced my desire to tackle big problems at the root cause and make a meaningful difference in the world. Graduation came with a deep respect for the engineering profession's commitment to serving society, humbly represented by our little iron rings. What remained unclear, though, was where I could have the greatest impact. My years followed working in industry, which, by the way, I strongly recommend, gave me responsibilities and insight into our professional ethics, the engineering human resource needs of our country, and engineering legislation in every province. When I was 28, the company that I worked for was sold, and I was really questioning the next step in my career. For as long as I could remember, I wanted to learn Spanish and know Latin America. I was also more interested at this time in the ways that people use technology and the natural world to build healthier communities. The next step, I did what any sensible person would do. I hopped on a bicycle and headed south through the United States to Latin America, covering 14,000 kilometers across 14 countries. This photo is in a spectacular river valley in Colombia. For this little girl from the prairies, a flatlander, cycling Colombia, Ecuador, and 8 Peruvian mountain passes over 4,500 meters above sea level was daunting and amazing. It was breathtaking. It was like reading a really good book and wanting to linger on every word, while at the same time, you can't wait to get to the next chapter, around the next curve, or over the next pass. All along the way, people invited me into their homes, their schools, their workplaces, which gave me windows into their daily lives. I experienced a wide range of conditions, climates, and economic brackets. One family in Peru stands out. Living as subsistence farmers in the Andes, their plot of land was on the river, truly picturesque. But when it came time to use the latrine, a basic outhouse, it surprised me to open the door. The hole was positioned right over the river. When I shared the idea of a composting toilet and the benefits of turning the waste into fertilizer for their agricultural production, the father and son got right into it. The design was sketched out, and we talked about what it would take to construct, operate, and use it effectively. My motivation was to protect the river and help the family, while theirs was their livelihood. All throughout Latin America, I filtered my own water daily and was inspired by the beauty of the landscape and the goodness of people. The problem of poverty and development was on my mind a lot, witnessing countless development projects gone wrong or not built to last. I wondered what was my responsibility with my privilege, being white, educated, able-bodied, and with a Canadian passport. And what could I do to help not just 1 or 2 families, but hundreds? Returning to Canada with these thoughts still in mind and heart, I continued as an environmental engineer in corporate Calgary. While water remained a common thread, it was still not the center of my focus. And then I volunteered for this fledgling startup called COST, the Center for Affordable Water and Sanitation Technology, and found my cause. It's one that's focused on a big, sticky problem impacting billions of people in the world. People like this boy and girl collecting surface water in a refugee camp. And I should note that some of the photos I'll share with you may be difficult to see, but they're important. To truly define a solution, we must first understand the problem in all its complexities. This is a community in rural Congo collecting their drinking water. These women are transporting water on their heads. On average, women and girls in developing countries walk 6 kilometers a day, carrying 20 liters of water. And even if the water is spring water and safe, it becomes contaminated by the time it gets home. We met this little girl on a trip a few years ago to Kisii County in Kenya. People living in this Syrian refugee camp in Jordan and the fellow with his hand on the storage tank is Raid, one of my colleagues. In locations like this, people are very frugal with their water use. In this location, people are doing their laundry using the standing water that's leaked from broken pipes. This rural community is in Bihar, the poorest state of India, with a very complex water situation. I just came back from it this last November. There is extremely high microbial and iron everywhere, and also naturally occurring arsenic in pockets. The man in the orange is explaining the filtration system in front of us that worked to remove all 3 of those contaminants, but only for a few months. The 2 people on either side of me are both engineers helping to come up with a better solution. Now, think for a moment about the vast migration into cities. People are seeking better lives and brighter futures for themselves and their families. These congested areas become even more so as millions of people move into already overcrowded urban settlements. They spill out past the boundaries of the cities and up the mountainsides. This photo is from Caracas, Venezuela, but could be almost any mountain city in the world. How do you serve a community like this one with water and sanitation? In Caracas and elsewhere, water is often trucked in, then stored in barrels inside the home and on rooftops. And typically, it might be once a week or every 2 weeks that you'd get your water. This fellow is transporting water up a steep incline in Caracas. I took this photo from the top of a small building that houses a kindergarten on the first floor and a clinic on the second. He's either taking the water to his home or might be making a small amount of money as providing a service to a neighbor. And the sanitation in these areas, it's frequently deplorable, creating significant health and safety risks. These are both waterways, naturally rivers, and what you probably can't tell in here is that there's garbage bags that are colloquially called flying toilets. You essentially poop in a bag, toss it into the river. There's nowhere else for it to go. Often, it's rivers and ravines. Consider the impact that this condition has on human health. If an infant or young child is sick from waterborne diseases with high exposure to pathogens, it can permanently affect mental and physical development and can even shorten lifespan. This is the case for 1/3 of children under the age of 5, according to the World Health Organization and a 2022 Global Nutrition Report. What impact does this have on their ability to learn, go to school, grow up, earn a living, and be contributing members of society? This is the water poverty cycle. It impacts kids, families, communities, nations, and our world. Not only that, but every day, 1,000 children die from waterborne diseases and never make it to their 5th birthday. How many headlines even come close to that? Acute events stop the world. Other numbers that are staggering are these ones. It's estimated that 2.2 billion people live without safely managed drinking water. That's the official number. A new report estimates that it's more like 4.4 billion people, half of humanity. 3.5 billion people live without safely managed sanitation. We know how to clean water and manage sanitation, and we know that clean water saves lives. The world has made progress to address these issues, but even so, the rate of progress remains largely unchanged. And arguably, it could get a lot worse with growing global concerns of water scarcity, water contamination, aging infrastructure, migration, rising populations, climate change. Remember this photo from the start? The science behind it is led by the Global Institute of Water Security at the University of Saskatchewan and the United Nations University for Water, Environment, and Health. It's my water source in Calgary, a glacier that's vanishing. Many glaciers around the world are already gone, and the stakes are high for 2 billion people who rely on glaciers in the Rockies, Himalayas, Andes, and other critical mountain water sources around the world. People living in extreme poverty will be hit the hardest. This is scary. It's overwhelming, and it's real. Remember how I said that I want to solve problems at the root cause? Where do I even start? In 2004, I joined COST's founder, Camille Dow-Baker, and the COST team as employee number 4, working out of Camille's basement. She was an engineer working as an executive in oil and gas, returned to university, and met Dr. David Manns, an engineer and professor, who had invented the biosand filter, the technology that inspired the formation of COST. David is also a U of S alumni and C.J. Mackenzie Distinguished Lecturer in 2010. David cracked a problem that others had tried and failed. He took a community scale, large scale, 200-year-old proven technology and figured out how it could be used in the home. Prior to David, people had focused on the size while trying to have it run continuously, which is a key parameter for the slow sand filter to work. David's criteria was human-centered. The filter needed to run intermittently because that's how people use water. No movable parts and no energy required, because many places have intermittent or no electricity. Another criteria was that people could be readily trained. Now here's where it gets really trippy, and some of you will already know this. The way the biosand filter works is by using microorganisms that are already in the water, many of which would make us sick, bacteria, viruses, parasites, and worms. We use those microorganisms to clean the water. Over a few weeks, the little microbiological ecosystem forms at the top of the sand and increases the effectiveness from 60% to 70 to 80 to 90, 95, nearly 100% removal of the bacteria. While it is not the most advanced technology, it's human-centered, so people use it, so it works. One of the first people to be trained on the biosand filter took what he learned to Haiti. Haiti is one of the poorest and most fragile countries in the world, where people believe that it's voodoo that kills their kids or makes their family sick. 6 women learned that it wasn't voodoo, it was their water, and they learned about the biosand filter. They asked the local organization to train them, and then they built 6 filters for themselves, for their homes. And then another 250, reaching more than 1,500 people with better water. The women had no formal education, and these are some of the best built filters that we've seen. As a result, these women and other organizations in Haiti, there are over 45,000 biosand filters providing water for an estimated 270,000 people. This is a place where most development organizations will no longer work because of the social unrest. The biosand filter in this photo is version 8, and now we're at version 10. Now, David and the University of Calgary did something that's pretty unusual. They made the biosand filter patent open and gave COST the humanitarian rights for the distribution of the filter. They didn't hold on to it. They let it go. A philosophy that's the basis for our success still to this day. Camille our founder, carried the engineering ingenuity into examining the problem of getting safe water and sanitation to billions of people around the world. Traditional approaches will focus on infrastructure, drill wells, build a treatment plant, sewage lines, get water and sanitation to an entire community, and then replicate it. It sounds wonderful in theory, but the world has been trying to do this for decades, and progress is slow. It's not going to happen anytime soon for billions of people. It's costly, it takes time, needs trained engineers and technicians, entire systems and supply chains are needed for people who don't even have houses. Globally, there's an annual funding shortfall of $130 billion on water and sanitation. This means that countries would have to triple their spending for the sector to reach everyone with safe water and sanitation services. But children are dying now. Camille thought there might be another way to think about the problem to come up with a different solution, a way that could be done with the small dollars and with only a few people from Canada. You see, technologies exist like the biosand filter that people can use almost immediately. This applies not just to the middle and upper class who can afford to purchase the water or treat it in their home, but everyone. For instance, impressive research out of Bangladesh proved that pouring water through a sari cloth can reduce cholera by 50%. And here's one potentially life-saving tip that you can take home from my lecture. If you're ever stranded, pour clear water into a plastic bottle and expose it to sunlight for a day to disinfect your water. It can be that simple to save a person's life. David Mans came up with the technical innovation, and Camille Dow-Baker designed our business model, an institutional innovation. And I've been part of the team to figure out, implement, and scale our model. Now, as a reminder, COST is a Center for Affordable Water and Sanitation Technology. We are both a licensed professional engineering firm and a registered Canadian charity. This hybrid business model is important, as the majority of clients cannot pay for our services. Our mission is to provide training, consulting, and act as a center of expertise for the poor in low and middle income countries. Simply put, we take science and turn it into training on affordable technologies and practices that people can implement themselves right away. And just as the technologies need to be human-centered, so does the training model. Initially, we thought that people would come to Canada and take our training and then go home and replicate it. In one of our very first workshops, participants from India and Pakistan invited us to their countries, and it became clear that a distributed training model delivered where people live was far more effective. We are now a small but mighty team of 50 professionals who have collectively worked in 82 countries and speak 30 languages. Since our inception, we've continued to experiment, iterate, improve on what we learn from the organizations around the world to make our training and consulting services and the technologies that we train on as effective as possible. We make it as easy as possible for local communities in the hardest to reach areas to access relevant skills and knowledge both in person and online, tailored to their country, language, and context. From our founders to now, we're inspired by the biosand filter and other simple, affordable technologies and practices that people can implement themselves, open access to knowledge and information, and making it as widely available and accessible as possible. We don't hold on to it, we let it go. And the belief that people are capable, that one person can make a difference in their lives and the lives of others. We figured out a better way to have a scale of impact far beyond what one person or organization can do. It begins in the home with just one person. One person can make a difference in their life and those around them. A mom, a dad, a woman in Haiti, a kid who learns something in school, a teenager who inspires us to think differently. And then you multiply it millions of times. That is our model in a nutshell. To help make this come alive, I'd like to introduce you to two people. This is Anil Sharma. He leads SoPD, an organization in the Western Himalayas. A year ago, I was in Delhi, India, and Anil traveled 6 hours from his home in the Himalayas to Delhi to meet us. And then that very same day, he traveled 6 hours home. No wonder he looks so serious. Before he departed, I asked him why. He said, I needed to meet the people behind the biosand filter. Here is Anil's story. In 2007, his son was hospitalized in critical condition due to the water that he drank at school. Anil went to investigate what had happened. He discovered that the school had a filter. It was a reverse osmosis filter, which is the gold standard. However, it hadn't been operated and maintained properly. And so he went and searched for a different solution. In 2015, Anil traveled all the way across India and took a training on the biosand filter. And get this, he took a training from an organization in India that was trained by a man who is trained in Canada by cost. Thanks to all of our supporters who enable us to do the work that we do. Anil returned home and started building filters for his family and community. Since 2015, Anil and his team have constructed and installed 5,000 biosand filters, providing safe drinking water to more than 25,000 people in a hard-to-reach area of the Himalayas where there's pockets of villages in a very mountainous area. He has less than 3% technical problems with the filters and a hotline for the rare occasion when people have an issue. They can call a technician who responds right away because Anil and his team are committed to ensuring that no one goes a day without having safe water. This is how we get a multiplier effect. One person who is motivated to take action can reach 25,000 people. That's incredible. And by the way, his son, who could have died due to contaminated water, he's now doing his PhD in atomic physics in Poland. This is our core central strategy: train more people like Anil. And each person adapts it to their local context. For example, we know of some biosand filter technicians in Nepal who have set up small businesses and have created a local network of entrepreneurs. Now, I want to draw you to one key part of that story. Anil was trained by a local organization in India. What if we trained more organizations to train? We multiply the multiplier. Training other organizations to train is our second core strategy. In 2023, our network of 14 training partners reached 6 million people with better water, sanitation, or hygiene, or 40% of our results. This is Elijah. He started his career as a lab technician in water quality testing and now leads AFMAC, one of our training partners in Zambia. Over the past 14 years, Elijah and his team have delivered hundreds of trainings and reached hundreds of thousands of people with better water, sanitation, or hygiene. Recently, Elijah delivered his very first online training in drinking water quality testing. The course had 150 participants from 34 countries, with a completion rate of over 70%. This is pretty impressive, especially when compared to industry norms of online training with 15% or less of completion. This is the level of demand that we're getting across all of our services. Last year, over 110,000 people from over 200 countries, regions, and territories accessed our services online. This is a 40% year-over-year increase. This highlights the high demand for our services, their relevance to local organizations, and the growing global access to digital technology. We have countless stories of people like Anil and Elijah who are seeking solutions for their communities and taking action. Together, we're so excited by the opportunity to combine the in-person and online training to expand our impact even further. So here we are, today. COST Global Network has reached 50 million people with better water, sanitation, or hygiene. Demand for our services is growing. We plan to scale this even further to reach 100 million people by 2030, so that millions of children and their families and communities can have the opportunity to reach their full potential. To reach 100 million people by 2030, we will continue to expand our network of training partners, working with people like Elijah to provide in-person and online training. We will leverage digital technology because people like Anil have easier access and are connecting to us from almost every country of the world. And we will be able to do this thanks to an incredible team of dedicated and passionate people, our staff, our board, volunteers, and donors. It's pretty amazing to think of the impact so far and what we're capable of doing now. After cycling 14 countries, working in 20 more, and hearing the stories from my team almost daily from over the last decade, I can say definitively that everywhere around the world there are people like Anil and Elijah and those 6 women from Haiti. Bright, passionate, committed to building a better life for themselves, their families, and the communities. Our role is to be here for them and do the very best we can with what we have. In many ways, my journey has been shaped by the 3 questions that I posed at the start of the presentation. My hope is that my experiences may be a starting point for you to answer these questions in your own life and to support you in some small or big way, wherever you are on your journey. My hope is that you've seen how the power of engineering ingenuity and innovation combined with our collective human spirit can create a multiplier effect so big that it can change the world. To the students especially, may some of my insights serve as anchors as you complete your degrees and chart your paths. You have so much to offer the world. 1, you can make a meaningful difference no matter your interests, passions, or skills. And please, keep water in mind. It's in our bodies, our homes, our livelihoods, and every single industry. Without water, life simply doesn't exist. Think about who you want to be, not what. Seek out others who emulate who you want to become and learn from them. Your career may twist and turn, however, you can't go wrong with moving forward and becoming the type of person that you want to be. 2, your problem-solving minds are greatly needed wherever life takes you. Embrace it and let your talents drive change. The world needs more engineers who see complexity not as a barrier, but are drawn to it as a fascinating challenge, and bring others along with you. Be curious, cultivate an insatiable desire to learn, and explore what interests you most. Never stop learning. And remember, there's no need to reinvent the wheel. It can be really exciting to build on the innovations of others. Some of you will be really good at solving for the right answer. You are so important for people like me to be able to trust your work. Some of you will help create structure where there isn't, literally and metaphorically. And some of you will be really good at dealing with ambiguity. Knowing you can't have all the data, you'll gather what you can to help you make the best decision possible. Focus on your strengths and stretch all those other muscles. And 3, remember, you're never alone. Around us are an incredible mix of people with different skills and talents. When we come together to focus on a common problem, whatever that might be, this is where the magic happens. Amazing things can emerge. We're in this together, and we're stronger and more capable when we support others and know that we too are supported. I'm fortunate to have a career in life that feels deeply relevant and rewarding. This didn't happen by chance, and it didn't happen alone. As mentioned, as an undergraduate and early in my career, I often questioned whether I was truly an engineer and wondered if I should shift paths. I would talk about it with professors and U of S alumni who remained engaged with the college and who became mentors for me. You were all so encouraging and patient with me with all my questions. Thank you. A few conversations stand out with people who I am so very touched are here today. One was with Wayne Clifton. During one of my moments of doubt, you said in your gentle way, "Shauna, you're amongst the best engineers I know because of how you think about the world and your commitment to society." Your encouragement has anchored me ever since. Thank you, Wayne. Ernie Barber, you reinforced this over and over through the years as my professor, mentor, and now my friend. Thank you. Mike Broadfoot, you too. Thank you for being here. Engineer, cost board member, confidant, the number of times you've been my sounding board. Thank you. And Mom, I truly wouldn't be here without you. In all seriousness, thank you to you and my uncle Alan Dunsmore for encouraging me to go into engineering. Camille and Derek, Derek is her husband, and he is also an engineer. Camille, Derek, and David Mans are incredible inspirations of what it means to be an engineer. David O'Brien, chairman of our board and principal donor, if you were here today, I'd thank you for your belief in our team's ability to lead costs towards accelerating our impact. And to all of you who are engaged with the College of Engineering, your gifts of donation and time are truly invaluable. They are helping to develop our engineering problem-solving skills, creativity, and confidence. You are setting up our college, our students, our university to be what the world needs. They say that it takes a village to raise a child. I can't express how moving it is to reflect on the village that has surrounded me and my team over the years, including those who stand with us today. Yes, one person can change the world, but it takes a village to do so. On behalf of my team and our incredible global network working in the service of others, I am deeply honored to be recognized here as a distinguished graduate, an engineer. Thank you to my alma mater, University of Saskatchewan College of Engineering.
Thank you, Shauna. That is truly touching and inspiring to hear someone who brings so much passion about what she does and what she's brought to so many different communities. And as a student who's about to get my iron ring, and I plan to travel, probably by plane though, I really aspire to have as much of an impact as you have, Shauna.
Yeah, like Ryan said, that was very inspiring. I don't even think inspiring covers it. to hear about your whole career diving headfirst into one of the most widespread and impactful problems in our world is just incredible. And hearing about your truly selfless motivations, along with your sense of adventure and mixing it with your technical abilities, it makes me really proud to say that I'm becoming an engineer. Now I would like to invite Debbie Rolfes, the director of the Ron and Jane Graham School of Professional Development, to join us on stage to thank Shauna Curry for her lecture on behalf of the college.
Wow, Shauna. So I've got notes here. For students of RCM 200, this was going to be an extemporaneous speech, but it's gonna veer into impromptu. Do not try this in the classroom. But what do I say? It's like, what you did. Does anybody else feel like after the first 5 minutes you wanted to get up and leave? It's like you painted a picture of a problem that seemed insurmountable. It was huge, it was overwhelming, and it was real. And you introduced me to a phrase I'd never heard before, the water poverty cycle. And I thought, I don't want to know about this. And then you introduced some more words like small dollars and human-centered technology. You said people are capable and one person can make a difference, and you showed us how. And that was just so remarkable. It was beautiful. So thank you, because what I learned from what you said was that the business of engineering is justice, and that engineering is built upon relationships, and it ends with dignity for everyone involved when it's done well. So thank you, because I think you've inspired everyone in this room, and that's what we were hoping for, and we knew you'd do it. So thank you. So I hope and I believe you inspired our corporate and industry partners who joined us here, to thank you for being here, to remember the honor of what it is to be an engineer, and reminded us of the responsibility that comes with the power to guide and set the direction of our built environment. So thank you for that reminder to the industry and corporate partners in this room. And thank you for all our industry friends for being here. I think you've inspired the faculty and staff in the room. You've inspired us to remember, as we teach the practical skills and knowledge to engineers, to engineering students to be good engineers, that is also part of our job to nurture their dreams, to hold their creativity, to allow them, not teach them, but to allow them to keep that deep sense of justice that they have and to bring it into their careers. So you've challenged us to nurture our students' dreams. So thank you, Shauna, for that. And thank you to all the faculty and staff who come here to hear that. And I know you've inspired our students to remain open to the possibilities and to hang on to their dreams. Shauna said, and I believe it, you all will be so much more than you can possibly imagine today. It's all ahead of you. And maybe one day you'll be back here as our C.J. Mackenzie Distinguished Lecturer. Every one of you. We'll hold a gala for each of you. So thank you, Shauna, for inspiring our students. And thank you for your students for coming here tonight. It's been a wonderful, my heart's so full. I'm so pleased. Thank you for just reinforcing what we're all doing, what we all do with our lives, and making it seem as important as it is. And speaking of the students, I would like to especially thank our MCs, Millie and Ryan and Arliss. These three are spectacular students, but they're representative of the students that we work with in the SoPD and the College of Engineering. And I gotta tell you that I couldn't be more proud of them if they were my own children. They're wonderful. And I want to thank Ron and Jane Graham, because without their support, I wouldn't be here. With their support, I have the most wonderful job in the world. So that's fantastic. Ron and Jane recognized right from the beginning that the purpose of engineering was not just to make good engineers, but to make great global citizens. And that's what we try to do in the SoPD. Thank you for making that possible. So it's time to invite Shauna back on the stage, but as we're doing that, we're going to put up a video. So earlier, Ryan and Millie told you that Dr. Laurie Bradford's group has some artists in their group, and they've been putting together a little, Demolati has been putting together a video of tonight's gathering. It's not a finished product, but he's going to share what he has so far with us. So that will be playing on the screens as Shauna comes up. And I'm going to also invite another of our students, Jade Fossen. Jade's an agricultural student who's doing a degree in animal science, but she's also doing a degree in communication with the SoPD. She's also an accomplished artist, and we commissioned her to create a gift for Shauna. So come on up, Jade. Come up, Shauna. Jade, meet Shauna. Shauna, meet Jade. So you need to open this up. What we have is a watercolor representation of a photo that means something special to Shauna. My understanding, it's a picture of Shauna in Oman, where she's taking a look at some ancient water systems.
Oh, wow. Amazing.
Is it up there? Can you see it? No? Can we? I hope it's up there soon. In the meantime, we need some people up on the stage to get some photos. So if you know you're supposed to be in the photos, that's you, Arliss. And the dean. Yeah. Like this? Yeah, you too. Come on in the back, guys. You're up front of the center.
Of course. That'll work?
Thank you, Debbie and Jade, and everyone else. Now, as the 48th CJ Mackenzie Gala comes to a close, I am deeply grateful for the incredible effort that made tonight such a success. I want to extend my heartfelt thanks to the CJ Mackenzie Planning Committee for their dedication and hard work. Thank you to our sponsors, Graham, the Center for Affordable Water and Sanitation Technology, or COST, Victory Majors, Co-op Refinery Complex, and ADA Architecture for your support. Also, thank you to Prairie Land Park for being an excellent host this evening, as always.
To our valued guests and partners, your presence and support have enhanced the grace and significance of this evening. We extend our sincere gratitude to the dedicated team working behind the scenes, whose unwavering commitment and creativity have brought every detail to life. I hope each of you can take a moment to acknowledge and appreciate the constructive rivalries that exist in your life, and the people that surround you. I also hope you can each recognize the impact you all bring to your communities. Now that we're reaching the end, we would like to have you all vote by applause on who was the better MC. Just kidding. Just come talk to me personally after, so we don't hurt Ryan's feelings. But seriously, though, thank you, Ryan, for being a fantastic MC partner, and thank you again to all of you.
And thank you, Millie, for being such a great co-MC as well, and holding back from outshining me too much up here. Let's all continue to embody the spirit of community and celebration, knowing that tonight's accomplishments will echo in the positive impact we as engineers create together. Thank you for being a part of the College of Engineering's 48th CJ Mackenzie Gala, and have a good night.